So, you're listening to Radio Shields, and I am delighted today to have the fantastic, amazing Rachel Glendinning. Oh, I'm going to say that again, Glendinning. We were just having a conversation with Rachel before saying I'd learned a name wrong. Anyway, welcome to Radio Shields, Rachel. It's lovely to have you here with us.
Oh, Amanda, it's such a pleasure to join you.
Now, tell me a little bit about yourself. I'm very lucky because I had actually, before lockdown, I managed to come and have a foot reading session with you, which was absolutely fascinating. So foot reading is one of the things that you do, but you do lots of other things. So tell us a little bit about yourself and all of the therapies and the amazing work that you do.
Yeah, Amanda, I'd love to share some of my journey. And actually, we were just having a little chat, weren't we, about what's been going on now. And I don't know if this resonates with some of your listeners, but what I've been finding personally, you know, admittedly, it's a time where we've had challenges and lots of intensity of everything, of all sorts. But I would say it's such a wonderful time, kind of putting a positive on it. It's such a wonderful time for new beginnings. And it can be such a wonderful, it feels like a wonderful time for new beginnings. And I don't know about you or your listeners, but this time has brought such a rootedness in my own work and purpose, and definitely evolving aspects. So I think what I'd love to do, if it's okay with you, is I'll just start with my new beginnings that are unfolding, and maybe go back to where it began. So what I'm really excited to have launched recently, I'm lucky to have found a wonderful assistant, and I've got a marketing team. It was one of the lessons I learned quite late on in running my business, because I've run my business for over 16 years. I've really learned to delegate and have confidence to start to build a team to help me. So together with my team, we've just been putting together a little program, a 7-day program for people to start to really get guided and connected to their soul purpose. And one of my skills is through meditation, getting guidance and sensing things. I think I've always been very sensitive, and from a young age, even if I didn't use it fully, I've really loved using more recently my intuition and my sensing, kind of what's going on in the world. And I really feel what's happening now is those of us ready and open are being called to connect to their purpose, and without going into, you know, political situations or different ideas of what actually is happening, without going into that, I just feel it's a time that those of us that are wanting to do good in the world can start to get courage and clarity of maybe what they want to do to start bringing some goodness amidst all the chaos and craziness that's going on. I really feel it's such a powerful time that many of us are being called to, you know, sometimes I don't like using that word, but it's a good word, to bring some light into the world, to shine our light and bring light into the world.
And I think it's been a time where we've been assessing our values. We've been focusing on what I like to call about your divine calling or your dharma. It's like really kind of brought things that are important into perspective. And we've just had Beltane, so it's a perfect time of the year, isn't it, to welcome in the light and to really step onto that path, that new beginning, whatever it is for you. So tell me a little bit about Rock Your Soul Purpose. I love this name. I want to rock my soul purpose. It really does feel like we are rocking it right now, doesn't it? Like this new beginning. What are you rocking this week? And you're about to launch your Rock Your Soul Purpose business. Tell us a little bit about this. It's so exciting.
Yeah, so Amanda, it was such a pleasure to share the Grinberg Method with you, which is what you were describing when you came for a session with me. And I feel this can be true of lots of practitioners now, and therapists and healers, that often we follow our path and we're drawn to different trainings and teachings, and it's a little bit like we have this wonderful toolkit of gifts and trainings to be able to give to humanity and give to our clients. And that's really true for me. So I've got a background in firstly learning Reiki, being drawn. That was the first moment of kind of synchronicity for me in terms of learning spiritual tools and starting my journey. So I began with Reiki, and then I was really drawn to dive deep into the practice of yoga and meditation. I was a yoga teacher for many years in London and loved it. And then, as serendipity would have it, when I quit my advertising career, which was my first profession in my 20s, a very different profession to walking barefoot on a yoga studio. I was very much like heels around the magazine floors then, so kind of a richness of life. So I've collected a number of different wonderful spiritual tools along the way, and I'm now sitting here today in building my confidence to use that accumulation of tools and what feels right in a natural way. So the emergence of Rock Your Soul Purpose really came with me reflecting on what I love in supporting people is taking them on a journey, accompanying them on a journey of them finding more of their potential, of them healing and moving into more of their full potential.
Love it.
Yeah.
So it's about stepping into their purpose and being able to visualize that potential and experience that potential, and then help them to step into it. Tell me a little bit more about the process of that, finding your
and I think the relevance of it that I'm sensing with the world today is, and again I would just love to hear feedback from your listeners, but I sense many people are becoming more disillusioned with the system and maybe fairness, whether it be them being valued for their time, for their experience. And so for those people that are maybe looking for something where they can find more personal freedom, this definitely was my journey, just seeking this personal freedom in life. And for those people, the journey that I went on and that I'm really so excited to share with people is often what we need to move through and the obstacles that we need to kind of go through to reach that diamond, that connection to our light and our purpose. The obstacles that we move through are often the old conditionings, whatever it was that you heard from your mother or your father. Often sometimes in society we see, as children, we follow the paths of our parents. Often if a father was a doctor, the son might also become a doctor. Or in my instance, I was sharing with someone, I genuinely had no clue about what I wanted to do, but I do remember, and it's probably quite common, being 16, 17, sitting in that interview in your sixth form, the career teacher or whatever, and then coming up with something, an idea, a suggestion of what you should do with your life. It's challenging, I think, to be 16, 17. And so I think we're influenced. What I'm trying to say is I think we're influenced a lot, and we have to discover and go back to our heart and our soul of what it is that lights us up and excites us, because we've got a lot of stuff, would I say, kind of maybe weighted on our shoulders and stories that we've told ourselves, or you know, trying to look good for somebody. So yeah, that gives you a little flavor of my journey, and also what I am sharing in the Rock Your Soul Purpose training.
Oh, it just sounds absolutely exactly right for the time where we're at right now. So I guess I would refer to you as an energy intuitive, because you're kind of picking up on the energy of what's happening at the moment, and I think you absolutely nailed it in terms of feeling that people are really focusing in on what their purpose is. And it's just wonderful, isn't it, to have a bit of guidance sometimes to kind of bring to light maybe some of these limiting beliefs, some of these blocks, some of these stories that you've been told that are kind of a bit stuck in your head, some of the responsibilities that you've taken on that are maybe weighing you down, that perhaps you don't really need to have taken on. And it's really beneficial to work with somebody to reflect that process, that development, that growth process. And it holds you accountable as well, doesn't it? It holds you accountable for your actions, for your choices, for your decision making. And sometimes just that accountability is like, okay, I'm going to get up and I'm going to do that bit of work today on my new business, on my new project, on my new idea. I'm going to have that hour where I'm just going to focus on some meditation or some breath work or some yoga because I need to do that self-care thing today. Whatever it is, it's super helpful, isn't it, to have somebody like yourself really kind of like walk alongside the people who you work with and really like hold space for them so that they can really get a vision of what that future purpose is, or really help them to step into that reality. I absolutely love what you're doing. It's amazing, really exciting. So
yeah.
I'd love to share with the listeners a little bit about my experience of working with you one-to-one. So I'd never heard of anybody who reads your feet before. Obviously, I know quite a bit about reflexology, but this is like another step further. Would you mind sharing a little bit about what the foot reading is, where it comes from? And because I found it completely fascinating.
Yeah, and it was fascinating for me when I first discovered and started training with the Grinberg Method. The Grinberg Method was developed in the 80s by an Israeli called Avi Grinberg, and he is a natural born healer. I would say he's also an intuitive healer. What I loved about, and what I do love about Avi Grinberg, is he's got a very strong sense of spirituality, but he uses his focus in what he says. He describes it as we are a body with a mind rather than a mind with a body. And he uses that description. I haven't asked him personally, but I sense he uses it because we're so obsessed with the mind. And not that there's anything wrong with being fixated with the mind, but his approach uses a way to bring us back to the qualities that exist in our body, and in a way that our mind is part of the body. And at least on you'll know, Amanda, because with the session you had with me, I started with the feet, but there's always an approach through the body with the idea to bring your attention to what's going on in the body. And it took a lot of hours of training to read feet, I can say. And just to give you a little guide of it. So if you imagine the foot, and your heel is the element of earth. So we look at the feet through the elements, which for your listeners might be kind of relevant as we consider the Chinese medicine, how they look at the elements. So the heel of the foot is earth, the earth element. The arch of the foot is the water. The ball of your foot is the fire, and the toes are the air. And actually it's and when I talk about somebody's full potential, if I was to look at the feet and examine the feet, I've got a really good map of maybe aspects of their potential that are blocked, or aspects where through their experience of life, maybe particularly in childhood experiences, how some of their qualities and potential are not being used in a way that they could be, and maybe one element is dominating. So if I give you an example, earth, if we look at the qualities of earth, and those of you, you can consider it in many different alternative practices. Earth is very much connected to what we would call in yoga the root chakra. So it's really looking at our connection to being grounded, our presence in life. It's also connected to reproductivity, to sexuality, to creativity. In the body, it's connected to the bones. And it's also connected to survival, survival of making money, our basic needs, if you like. And so if I'll give you an example, if when I look at the feet, there's excess earth, so there's too much earth, on a physical level, that would often look like and feel like, it might be that there's quite a lot of stiffness in the body. It also can be connected to, if we think of survival and basic needs, it can be somebody that is a bit busy with survival and protection. So it means that our personal needs take over, and that person might be less likely to be open to seeing the world because they're still in a pattern of coming from survival. Does that give you a little flavour of?
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And I find it utterly fascinating that you can look at a foot and get this much information. And I was really skeptical when I came to see you, but when you were asking me questions and talking about what you were seeing, I was like, how do you know? How do you know this information? It was so amazing. And I think what was interesting for me was that as you were working with me and working through my body as well, you were connecting me to parts of my body I hadn't really thought about for a long time, like my belly. I was thinking about my belly quite a lot because we did a lot of work around my digestive system and in my tummy area. And it was really interesting to look at the kind of the emotions that were connected there. And as you were talking about those, I really felt that you kind of like brought something to the very front of my mind that I kind of already knew, but maybe wasn't really addressing. And I found it healing, challenging, inspiring. It gave me a real kind of like, it gave me some really clear objectives about how I wanted to make just small changes in my life that have had a big impact and really helped, and continue to help me in multiple areas of my life without going into too much detail. I found it utterly fascinating, and I was surprised at how much you knew, and I was surprised at how that revealing that information was a really empowering and healing process for me. So it's an incredible tool, and that is just one of the tools that you use, isn't it? Because you've got lots of other things ongoing at the moment. We're all working online. What sort of things are you doing at the moment? Because you do some sessions that are one-to-one, and you do video work as well. How are you working with people at the moment?
Yeah, and I think as I was suggesting at the beginning of the interview, I think for all of us, again, because I like to stay positive and open-minded. I think for many of us, we are being asked to adapt. And so one of the ways that I'm adapting is, and actually I'm quite fortunate that 5 years ago, when I was running my private practice in London, seeing clients one-to-one in person, with looking at the feet and working through the body with different touch techniques, as you know, Amanda, I had several clients actually coming internationally for sessions. And so I'd begun to learn how to work with them online, because they would only come into London maybe once every 3 months or every 6 months. And so I'd already learned. And again, I think the quality of being open-minded and just curious about how, as healers and practitioners and therapists, how we can still serve the community in supporting them, whether it be mentally, physically, emotionally. You know, I can say, I don't know about yourself, but I can honestly say, I was skeptical. I was thinking, how can I, you know, this wonderful work that I do with the power of touch, how can I do this through a video? You know, I just don't see how it's going to be the same. But I can honestly say that the sessions, different they may be, but I can say the sessions are as powerful. And I'd say, because what I'm using when I've got somebody on a video is I'm still able to contain what we call containing. I don't know what it's called in any other practice, but we were taught to contain someone's energy, which means that you're, you know, if I give you an example, if someone came into the room and you can feel they're full of anger, it's containing the energy. So, and that's possible to do through a video, to contain. And also a big part of what I do with clients is I teach them how to pay attention and stop patterns from childhood. And just by guiding someone through my words and instruction, they're still able to maybe let go and allow old emotions or fears or pain that has been trapped in the body. So yeah, this crazy world that we're living in, even though I was skeptical, and I'm still working with clients online, so I'm doing one-to-one, and then, as we described at the beginning, this new project that I'm launching, Rock Your Soul Purpose, is the one that I'm putting most of my energy in, and that will be live group trainings for people. So it will be more a community group training live, and I'll take people through a 7-day program using all my tools and trainings that we're describing, but actually more affordable. I'm really wanting, I don't know what you feel about this, but sometimes private practice has been not affordable for everybody. I know that we've each found ways to reach community, but you know, I think digital platforms are opening up, as you were describing to me. Oh my goodness, we can work with anyone in the world, you know,
right
now.
Yeah.
And it's taking it from local to a global scale. So yeah,
it's exciting, isn't it? I think what I really love about how you work, though, is how I get a sense that your own personal life experience, your own journey, the things that you've lived through and been through have really helped inform the way that you work. And I always get a sense of such understanding and you have such great empathy whenever you're working with somebody. Do you think that your own healing journey has added to your practice?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, I don't think any of us can choose the cards that we're dealt in life, but you know, I think we all have our stories, but I sometimes feel that my spirit and my soul and my being in this lifetime has been stretched so much, but I feel the qualities that I have chosen to expand into are for a reason, and allow me to lead and guide with that sensitivity and empathy of a human life. You know, I've struggled with, both of my parents had addictions, and I think one of my passions, even though it's not maybe the main context of my work, but it definitely stands in the background. I've got a real passion to see human beings take more responsibility and trust and find that power within for healing ourselves. I'm not alternative to the medical world, but I can honestly say it saddens me. I'm not going into too many details, but for a long time, it saddens me in what I feel is power and corruption, for for want of a better word, which exists in all areas of life, but what it means for for us as human beings is that often a lot of diseases that now are prevalent, I feel could be healed, and hopefully will be healed, because I feel there's transformation happening. Just giving you a little background on that. My parents, I sense, all passed away through lifestyle. I'd say addictions, and a lot of these chronic illnesses today that people are struggling with. I feel what most people need is some holistic a more holistic approach, which and it's no fault to doctors. It's just that they're not trained in that way of approaching the body, or it's not even a body, a person. So yeah, that's one of my passions, would be to see a transition in,
it's a very different way of looking at the body, isn't it? When I was nursing, I used to tell doctors off for having blob in the bed syndrome, and so what they'd say is broken leg in bed 2, diabetic in bed 3, and I'd be like, well, who's broken leg in bed 2? That's Joe. Joe's a painter and decorator. The diabetic in bed 3, that's Mrs. Smith, and she's a very good baker. Like they referred to people as diseases and syndromes and injuries to start with. I was like, can we refer to our patients as in by their name at least. That was my experience of working in the hospital. I used to pull the doctors up on it. She's not a blob in the bed. That's a real person. Can we talk them like they're a person, not just a syndrome or a disease or an injury? And so that was something I was always very hot on when I was nursing. But the way that Western medicine works, it looks at specific parts of the body as if it's a cog or a piece of equipment in a machine. If your car breaks down, you go and you have that part of the car repaired, and it fixes and it works again. And what's interesting is, science and medicine are all coming to a point now where they're really seeing that we are more than just a body, and we're not just a body of mechanical parts. There's a lot more to it than that. And I think the way that holistic therapists work is they come from that viewpoint, they come from that perspective that we're not just a body, there's a lot more to it. And I think what's happening is we're talking to medical professionals in a holistic language, so we're communicating with them in a language that they don't understand, and they're communicating with us in very medical language, and I know that yourself and myself and others we can talk in medical language as well as holistic therapy language, if you like. We've learned the Spanish of the body and the English of the body, so that we can communicate with medical professionals. But I actually really believe it's time that they start to learn about what we do as well. There you go. That's my little party political broadcast. It would be really good if doctors actually learned what a holistic approach was, and had a bit more of an insight into what other things could do. Like massage is becoming really popular on the NHS, and doctors are referring patients to massage, but they're doing it in the same way as they would give them a prescription for some medication. So they're doing it in this very prescribed, mechanical way. They still just haven't quite grasped the holistic way, philosophy, viewpoint, perspective. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And I have to say, it's I want to be clear that it's no disrespect for doctors.
Not at all. Far from it. We're a great collaboration.
Yeah, absolutely. And I found myself, I don't know if you can resonate with this, or any of your listeners, and this is really true of how I've been processing things in the last few days. I'm very open and attentive to what's going on around me, but I find the most useful, and maybe put this to your listeners because it might be of use. The most useful place I find is just to stay in my lane, if I can say it like that.
It.
Otherwise, I find, we're just starting talking about, and anything like this that touches me and I'm passionate about,
Mm.
I don't necessarily feel that is my purpose in the world. Even though us talking about it, I could start thinking, yeah, and maybe I could go and start teaching, doctors about aspects of what I know.
Stay in your lane.
And so the way that I've gone about, let me say it in a different way, the way that I've gone about my life and my purpose and being of use in the world is, rather than I'm observing what's going on, but I just keep on my path, and they're doing what they're doing, and sometimes it's just that power of intention. And enough of us doing our thing with all of our attention and all of our power, and staying, because I don't know about you, Amanda, but I think in life it's quite challenging when you start spreading yourself across so many different things or purposes, or what's another word?
An expression, isn't there? Jack of all trades but master of none. And I've always hated that expression, but because I like lots of color and lots of variety in my life, and I was like, just because I like doing lots of different things doesn't mean I can't be a master of something. So I never liked that, but I do like the idea of staying in your lane, staying in one lane, stay on that middle path. For me, I call it the middle path, the middle ground. And for me, being that middle ground is, I need gratitude. Gratitude really keeps me in that space. But I like the idea of that. So you can be still interested and have lots of, and be drawn to lots of things, like a moth is drawn to light, but you can still stay in your lane. I think that's part of the work that you do, is helping people to see what that lane is, so that they can have the focus.
And I think maybe just to add, in terms of the way it touches me personally, and how this empathy and kind of love for humanity is parallel. I think seeing my parents taken or pass away at young ages through self-destruction, self-sabotage, which is common, I think, as human beings. I think what I've learned of my own journey and what I see of my clients is, often it's that place in life we get to where we're on our knees, or it's that wake up of something gets so bad that it's spoken of, isn't it, the wake up call? Like, it's why as human beings do we have to get to this rock bottom before we change anything? And it's just common, isn't it? It's a common phenomenon.
A lot of what the work that I do is about, this is going to sound weird, about raising that bottom. And just asking people, like, how bad does it need to get for you before you make that change? Like, how much pain do you have to experience? How much lack of abundance in your life do you want? How bad does it need to be for you to make a change? Or do you think that before you hit that that really dreadful place that you could be on the path to, could you perhaps implement some changes now, so you never have to go there? And sometimes that question, how bad does it need to be for you before you'll make a change, is often enough for people to go, oh, right. Because I think people are quite often comfortable with their bad habits. They're comfortable with some of their bad behaviors. Maybe not that bad, they're not bad enough. All right, I might have just started by having a few glasses of wine at the weekend, and now we're on lockdown, I'm having a few glasses of wine every single day, and it's making me feel a bit physically unwell. Okay, well, how bad does it need to get? Does it need to get any worse than that? Is that okay? You're managing it. Do you need some support there? Can you back it up a little bit? Can you maybe have a tonic instead of a gin and tonic? I don't know. Just thinking about some of the conversations I've had with friends and family and clients over the last couple of weeks. There's a lot of boozing. There's a lot of people smoking. There's a lot of people who've kind of gone back to where somebody said to me, they put a sign in their fridge the other day which says, "Go away, you're not hungry, you're just bored." I was like,
Mhm.
it's so funny, but a lot of people
Yeah.
are kind of like some of those old behaviors, some of those kind of like negative patterns that you were talking about earlier are kind of creeping back in. And you know, whereas some people are like having a fabulous time, other people are struggling, and those sort of those
Yeah.
things that are coming up. So really, your background and your experience comes from the challenges that you had as you were growing up, watching your parents, the people who you loved in your life, who were there as your caregivers. You were around their destructive behavior, and very sadly had to watch that those destructive patterns, those pain managing solutions. I think they are for a lot of people, aren't they? Discomfort management, pain management. We reach for whatever it is you reach for, the chocolate biscuits, the extra coffees, the wine, the
Yeah.
drugs, whatever it is that you tend to reach for. Watching that has kind of really led you to have a great passion for work. And I know that you do a lot of work with people who've got addictions, irritable bowel syndrome, like chronic things like cystitis. Obviously you work with people who feel quite anxious and stressed. Tell us a little bit more about the online stuff that you do that, you know, works with people who perhaps are maybe reaching for those things at the moment. It's chocolate hobnob biscuits for me.
Is it? Yeah. I was just looking. There's I forget the name of it will come back to me. Dr. Gabor Mate. There's a doctor,
Love him.
Gabor Mate. Yeah, and he's written a couple of really lovely books that talk about actually everyone has got addiction. Every human being
Oh, absolutely.
has got some addiction. And actually, yes, the qualities, if I could say quality or context of what I learned with the Grinberg Method in what you're just describing is how to transform fear and pain in a very simple but powerful concept. That's very much what I'm working with clients to do. You know, the ways as children that we learned to split ourselves or disconnect ourselves from too much fear or too much pain, and they're often the ways that you were just describing, the ways that we call it comfort, but actually what we're doing is numbing ourselves from intensity of life or our surroundings. And that's predominantly the 16 years of work, very rewarding and transformative work that I've done with clients in the 16 years. And it's a recovery process, and often it's a recovery of, like you were just describing of your own journey with me, it's often a recovery of parts of the body, because what I learned in terms of parts of the body is that, and it's relevant to when I look at the feet, there's parts of our body where in some areas we hold too much effort, too much tension, and then there's areas of our body where we don't have enough attention or enough energy. And if we think about it, if I go back to what I was describing of my wishes and my hopes for, you know, the way that doctors look at their patients, you know, even that very simple process of if someone was able to connect to where in their body, and I have to say, as Westerners, for a lot of us, we hold a lot of tension in our shoulders, in our neck, in our backs, and the effort often comes with, especially for Westerners, we're very contracted in our muscles. It's a lot of tension in the way that we hold ourselves, which, if I say it in a different way, we're not very good at just relaxing into life, into trusting life, into trusting ourselves. And also, if I add another level, we're also very good at doing and being productive, and we're less trained as children to do less and be passive.
That is very interesting.
Yeah, and
it's so true.
It's the world. Yeah, it's the world that we live in. And And then there's when I've worked with clients that have gone through childhood trauma, as an example, you know, often there's disconnect if children went through abuse, physical abuse or sexual abuse. Then it's recovering not only parts of their body, but it's qualities they need to recover too. So it's a very rich and wonderful profession that I've felt so blessed to be in. And luckily I like people, so yeah.
Those books, by the way, that we were talking about, the Grinberg Method, the one that I read and is one of my favorites is When the Body Says No, the cost of hidden stress. But the one that's more about addiction is called In the Realm of Hungry Ghosts. In the Realm of Hungry Ghosts, fantastic book. It just basically says that if you're doing something that's damaging to yourself, your friends, or your family, or your health, and you keep doing it again and again and again, well, that's an addiction. And it's like, oh God, I've got loads of them. Chocolate knobs are definitely at the top of that list.
Yeah.
Got to dunk them in some good tea though. But obviously, on a more serious note, it's great to know that people can reach out and come to you if they do have some of these conditions, if they are struggling. And you have just got so many years of experience. What's going to happen after lockdown? What's after lockdown, Rachel? Tell us what's after lockdown.
After lockdown, well, this has felt like, well, I should say, in terms of my personal experience, I've got this week without my 3-year-old. So I am usually parenting. I am a solo parent, talking about the challenges that I've been given in life. So I'm solo parent to a gorgeous little 3-year-old, and he will be at some point back at nursery. We're waiting to hear here in the UK. I have to say, I feel excited. There's definitely aspects that I've missed, and I've grieved friendships and seeing my family, but I think it's been filled with lovely opportunities to slow down. I was talking about us not being so good at passivity as human beings. So I definitely felt like I was kicked off the hamster wheel because I'm as guilty as all of us of having a packed schedule and being busy. So I've been really appreciating cycles around where I live, to feel much more connected to nature. And there are some of these lovely gifts that we've been gifted with that I want to hold on to and want to keep. But in terms of lockdown with my profession, I'm really excited, as we were talking before we came on air, I'm really excited to continue to be curious about how to develop my online digital work, and really with the opportunity it gives to work to reach more people and to support more people ultimately. And I feel like I could do with a little party would be fun.
Yeah. I think there's going to be lots of partying going on. Definitely, we're going to be having a big party. Amazing. It's so exciting, isn't it, to think about the future. What I've absolutely loved about lockdown is that I've really seen the community coming together. My community, just from where I live, communities like throughout the country, people who have been just so kind to each other, and it's been actually really lovely to get to know my neighbours. Kind of know their names and know what they all do. So we all chat to each other, whereas before everybody was just rushing in and out, and we'd say morning, and that would be about it really. We all kind of, we've got to know each other. I think community spirit is such stronger. We've learned to connect with each other in lots of new and different ways, when we add to that the human connection that I've certainly really been missing, but when we can add that back in again, I think it's going to be a real time of flourishing and blossoming and radiance, and uh, and I totally recommend that if you're in a situation at the moment where you can't quite decide where you want to go, you're feeling like you need that kind of that guidance, you need somebody to hold you accountable or to work with you on a more deeply therapeutic way. I totally recommend that you join Rachel's coaching group and rock let me get that name down. Rock your soul purpose. I love it. Rock your soul purpose.
Yeah.
And get that vision really clear in your mind, and you know, and listen to your intuition, listen to your heart, and get out there and do what you're meant to do with passion and with drive and with vision and with direction and with encouragement and with support from somebody like Rachel as well.
Yeah, will be my pleasure. Yeah.
Well, it's been my pleasure to have you on. And we didn't even get to talk about angels, but I might just have you back. I might get you back on another time. We'll talk about that another time. How do people find you, Rachel, if they want to reach out and get in touch?
Yeah, so they can find me if you're on Facebook. I've got a Facebook community called Rock Your Soul Purpose.
Yeah.
It's Rock Your Soul Purpose. You can find me on Facebook, and also you can have a look at my website, which is rachelglendinning.com.
Brilliant. I'm going to share that on my podcast. I'll pop it on the YouTube links as well as on the Radio Shield's Facebook page and all of the other multiple platforms that this show goes out on. I'll make sure it's all linked in so that people can find you as well after they've listened.
Great.
Oh, Rachel, thank you so much. You are such a blessing. I'm so glad that we've met. Your work is profoundly healing, and I absolutely love that you are rocking people's soul purpose. I just think that is it's just wonderful to see you flourishing and bringing all your skills and knowledge and wisdom to this incredible coaching project. It's great. I wish you all the best with it. Not that I need to, because it's just, I can see it just like a rocket launching. It's exactly, you have your finger on the pulse of what people really need right now. So do get in touch with Rachel if you have any questions. She's incredibly approachable and has such passion for her work. She's really there to support you. Thanks for coming on, Rachel.
Oh, amazing. Lovely to see you, Amanda, and we'll be in touch.
All right, you take care. Lots of love. Thanks very much.